Hey there, Starbeams. So we are here for another podcast. This podcast is all about navigating launch exhaustion with grace and powerful tools of some things that I would suggest. I'm going to tell you a little bit about why this podcast episode came about and then go dive into it. So the other day, inside of Cosmically Blissful Business, we had our business mentorship call. And in it, there was a client who was coming to the table speaking about how incredibly exhausted she was. And this was the second launch that she was doing around her death doula practitioner training. And she was describing how the first launch she did was super exciting. It was brand new. She had all this energy. There was such commitment. She was excited to see these folks enter in to become end of life doulas. And this time around, this is her second time doing it. And she is having all the feels. And she is so tired. And there are many different reasons, including physical factors and environmental factors, as to why she may be tired. But I'd like to address some reasons why, when you launch the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time around the same program, that there is a sense of slight dread, some slight overwhelm, some slight exhaustion, and all the other feels in between it. That's very different from the sacred initiation of having your first brand new launch around a program that you've just revealed to the world. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, when we go into launch, okay, no matter how long you're launching for, firstly, for some of you, you feel as if you're launching every day for every month for entire year, right before you open up cart, because you're trying to put your messaging out there. For some of you, your launches are 48 hours, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks long. Often, whatever you choose for your launch to be, where you open your cart, it feels too long because there's so much pressure in noticing, quote, did this work? Are people going to say yes? And so, yeah, it is quite stressful, and it absolutely is a incredible learning opportunity for us as life coaches, healers, and spiritual entrepreneurs. Okay, so in the launch experience, once you've launched the first time around and now you're going a couple times, second, third time in, here's some of the experiences you might have. Okay, I'd love for you to just drop in and feel this and notice for yourself. Have you felt this? Are you currently feeling it? Or do you have already an expectation that this is something that you might be feeling? So the first thing is, like I said, being unbearably tired, super exhausted, right? Feeling so overwhelmed, noticing that it is really hard to muster up any energy or any excitement or enthusiasm for the launch process itself, meaning putting yourself out there, marketing it, sharing it, or even the idea of holding it feels really tedious. Also, you might honestly have this attachment to the previous success that you had in your first launch, and it's filled with expectation as well as comparison. So let's be honest, when you're launching something for the first time, you really, quite often, don't have as much of a deep seated expectation. Sure, you have your goals, your desires, your wants, your dreams, but also, hey, it's the first time, whatever, right? We'll see what happens. And there's a little less pressure involved when you're doing it for the first time. Now, afterwards, there's the sense of feeling accomplished and proud and feeling successful because at the end of the day, you completed your freaking launch and you're like, I did it, right? And so, no matter how many people have entered, the knowing that you from beginning to end finished a project, put out a body of work, right? Put your all into it and learn a tremendous amount, hopefully at some point, means that you are feeling quite satiated and honoring of the celebration of what you've been able to accomplish, because the launch itself is extraordinary. You putting something out there for the first time, you putting yourself out there in general is extraordinary. So let's say it worked and you had a number of people come in. It could have been a surprising number of people, meaning more than you thought, or it could have been a small number, but it was the most incredible group of people, right? No matter what, there is the sense of deep gratitude. So what happens the next time? You have an expectation. You have an expectation that it will be even better, that the launch will be even easier, that most folks will enter in seamlessly. Like you're not even gonna have to do anything. People are just gonna enter in, right? Because you worked so hard the first time. Obviously, they're just simply waiting for the next time to enter in, right? And so when it doesn't feel as easy, when the outcome of the expectation of people enrolling isn't as quick, right? And you can't satiate that sense, all of a sudden, there is this fear of being a fraud and having utter failure. So your immediate mind go to is this isn't working, or this is not going to work again, or what if people know that it's not working? Are they ever going to trust me again if I can't fill this program for the second time? Right? That people are going to no longer feel as if they can trust you. And gosh, you can't possibly tell people that this happened and it didn't work, or there's a smaller number, or there isn't the number that you had expected to come. And you're having all of this mind drama even in the beginning. You're not even at the end of your launch yet, but you are just fueled with doubt and fear and insecurity starting literally from day one. Okay. You also will feel some extra internal pressure, right? So it's still internal pressure, but you will have this growth jump that is something that happens to, I would say, everyone. Okay. So imagine this. I will use myself an example, and also my client inside of Cosmically Blissful said this as well. So when I first opened up Devoted Energy Coaching School, I really was like, whoever shows up, I don't even know if this is going to work. And there were 6 people that came in. And then by the end of it, I believe there were 4 people that stayed on board. And they were like the pillar. I love them, and I will love them to my last breath on this earth. And they really helped shape this school, this certification program. So the second round of launch, I was working with my coach, and I was saying, well, I have capacity for so much more. Now that I know what this is, I don't need 4 or 8. I want like 35 people inside of this. I know how brilliant this is. I know how I can teach it. I know I'm a really amazing teacher. Energy coaching is literally the next place to go for people with coaching. Like, I see it. I'm going to get 35 people. Yeah, I didn't get 35 people. But there's this immediate thing that happens in our brain where we are programmed to not go slow and steady. We assume if it works the first time, we need to blow it out of the water because we see the capacity in us and where our future expression of ourselves can end up. And we want it now. We want it actually yesterday. Even though my preparation to hold, let's say, maybe even 35 people inside of Devoted Energy Coaching School might take me a couple of years, and or I may never desire that many people inside of this program, right? But that's my egoic choice of where I go to. And so I then have this internal drama and this stress around my launch where I am expecting to have 35 people enroll, and where they're trickling in applications one at a time. I'm wondering, how am I ever going to get that 35? Where actually that's just extra internal pressure. I could have very much honored my internal space and said, I'd love to have 4 again. Or I'd love to have maybe a little bit more just to test what it means to hold a space with a couple of more people in it based on how I held the space before, right? And to be honest, that next season, I believe I had 7 or 8. So double. And that, my friends, was exactly where I needed to be because of the amount of love and dedication I have to each individual. I could not actually have held more people than that. And it was the most amazing experience. And I learned and added additional things inside of that container. But again, to have 35, it would have been a disaster, to be honest. Okay. So remember those external pressures around what you believe your capacity to be and where you might be in your learning stretch, not where you will end up, but what might be the next learning opportunity for you that you like to play in that offer itself. Okay. Now, the other launch experience is excitement of the newness. has really worn off. So honestly, folks, how often do we start something because it's creatively satiating? It is super exciting, and we have no understanding of what the outcome is going to be. And there's something within us that fuels this desire. So the newness makes something feel a lot easier. When it's something that you've done again, when you know the experience, you remember some of the tension or hardship. Second time around isn't as exciting, right? If anything you do, you go, for example, I started to go on these walk runs again. I go on walks, but Eric has been like, let's do a little running involved in it. And I do this, here and there. So the first day, it's super exciting. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. We're just doing a little bit. We're walking majority of it. And then Eric gets really excited and he cheers me on. And I run for like 30 seconds and then we stop and we do that maybe 3 or 4 times. Exciting. I can do this. Yeah, by day 4 and 5, I am hating Eric. I'm like, this consistency is bullshit. Like, I am struggling because now he's going longer. He's making me go up hills, right? It just feels so hard. It's not exciting anymore. Does that mean it's not good for me? No, absolutely not. Of course it's great for me. And the same thing with launches. The second, third, fourth time, you just know better. The more you know, the more you get better at it, the deeper of an experience you have. But it also means that it's not always as exciting. And therefore, the excitement has to come from your internal guiding system, your why, the people that you're coming into contact with, and also the program itself. But the launch process, you don't know what you don't know until you're ready to know it. And then once you know it, you can't unlearn it. And then you start like using it and it's impactful and effective. And you shift things around and you integrate and reflect and you make things better. But there is that sense of mastery or deepening into your ability to hold a space like a launch. But it doesn't mean, but the beginning stage of that full on beginner mind excitement is not there anymore. So how do you shift that? You add a little flavor that's a little new to the experience, or you honor that there is a deeper sense of needing your spiritual rituals and commitments to help support you in healing this as you continue on with your launch. Okay, I'm going to name some feels or some thoughts, okay? And let me know if this happens to you. So you might notice, for example, you say things like, the first launch had such a great turnout, but what if people aren't interested this time? Or what if they say something like, I'm not feeling as, or you're saying to yourself, I'm not feeling as motivated. I'm exhausted and I don't actually feel like I have the commitment. I think I just need to burn it down. I just have to back away. I can't do this. It's just not aligned with me. I have channeled this information. I must go in a different direction, right? Or you might say to yourself, I'm terrified. I'm terrified. I'm not going to hit my numbers, that this is all for nothing. That I'm not going to be able to increase enrollments and everyone is going to laugh at me. Or you might be saying to yourself, I am questioning every single freaking business decision I have made for the past X amount of years. Nothing seems to work. I don't know what to do. I have followed everyone's plan and nothing happens. It just doesn't work for me. It's not supposed to be for me. I am a failure. I can't do this. I should just go find a full-time job. I'm now going to go on LinkedIn and on all the different job sites, look to see if there's anything available, but I don't actually have any skill sets that would be available to a full-time job anyway. So what in the world am I going to do, right? And so you just go into the spin over and over again. So you're spending more time harping on the fact that this quote isn't working and going into fear and scarcity and having no time and energy to actually feel excited, inspired, like fully devoted to the launch and really to the program itself. Okay, so how do we address this? This is what I shared with my client inside of Cosmically Blissful. And inside of Cosmically Blissful, based on what she was sharing, I noticed that this is something that will happen to every single person inside of Cosmically Blissful. So I am creating an energy coaching, self-energy coaching session, as well as a meditation or breath work, or maybe it'll be a combo of both inside of our private podcast. So if you want in and you want some real specific, energetic, spiritual connection that will help you kind of move through this during your launch process, I highly suggest you enter to Cosmically Blissful because I will be providing, based on people's mentorship, something specific for the entire group. And so these are amazing exercises and practices that will help you and help you when the time comes when you need it. Okay. But I'll give you some overview around how to address this. The first thing is the following. Based on my client specifically, she is 30 days in to her launch. So at this moment in time, she says she's been doing this for 90 days. Firstly, I told her maybe we need to shorten this because 90 days is a really long time to launch anything. And so maybe we can just talk about the fact that you are sharing your messaging around end of life care and death doulas and what this all means. But let's look at it from a mindset perspective of your launch being only X amount of days, which I would say is less than 30 days. So I told her we'll talk about that after she finishes launching. But she's in her 30-day mark. And so therefore, at this point in time, to give her a lot of different tasks or different new strategies is not helpful at all because she is exhausted. She is burnt out. So to tell her, get your bootstraps going, just keep on going is not going to be helpful whatsoever, right? So instead, the first thing I invite you to do for yourself, as I told my client, is to adjust the fact that it's okay and quite normal at this point in time to feel effing tired. I was going to curse. Here we can curse, but I'm going to clean it for just today, right? You can be so effing tired and it's okay. And that's normal. So let's normalize the fact that you aren't always supposed to be on the go. And that many of you all, including you all in human design as generators, aren't supposed to always be on the go. And so in our society, we do not actually normalize the fact that there is a cycle and an ebb and flow of our energy level and that that's okay. So acknowledging that that's a common experience to help you remember for yourself, oh, it's okay for me to feel like this. This is something that people feel all the time in launching and also in business. The second thing is then we went into a space of self-compassion, right? And so here is where the encouragement, and this is where it honestly is felt when you have a coach say this, you can tell yourself every day, all day long, let's just be gentle. It's okay. But at some point, it doesn't feel like that. But when you have a mentor in front of you who is beaming love and is completely inviting you to take a moment, to take a break, to celebrate. And I reflected back all the celebrations. Look at what you've already accomplished. Look at you having already 4 events that you're about to roll out. Look at how this is going to help you in the future on even your next launch. This is amazing. Let's go ahead and just honor where you are and how you are feeling and what you've already accomplished. So that self-compassion is important. The next stage after that to me is understanding the real deep reason that is causing you the angst, overwhelm, or exhaustion. And at first, my client said, because I have all these things I have to do, and I'm learning more about myself and being an introvert, and these strategies might not be working. And it was all about her tasks and her to-dos. And so my question to her was, truly, why do you feel that you're overwhelmed? And she said to me, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I had, X amount of people enroll the first time. And I just don't know if there will be that much more that will enroll the second time. And I have one person, but I'd like to see 35, 45. And she kept on going around her fears. And so what I reflected back to her was, honestly, she's feeling the fatigue because she has a lot of pressure. The newness is no longer there. She has big expectations and she is afraid of failing and not being able to do this the second time around. And she agreed. So to me, understanding the root of the problem here means that what we need to do at this point in time is look at the energetic. Look at the mindset, look at the root of the problem, and look at it from the energetic field, right? And so here's where there's a strong emphasis of where I will provide her with a self-guided, devoted energy coaching experience that she can listen to and move through the process. And there'll be a meditation / breath work to help her go even further beneath the mind and allow the somatic experience to release through her body and through her energetic field so that her mind isn't always the one trying to satiate this, right? And so in coaching inside of my container, I'm not only looking at mindset and I'm not focused only on the mind and the programming of it. I'm here to shift the behavior of what's going on from your mind by understanding the energetics of it. So that's what we do next. That will help her feel deeply connected and satiated, right? It'll make her feel like, okay, I'm back to center. I'm back to feeling like myself. The next part then is altar craft, is looking at the spiritual component because she is a spiritual being. She believes in magic. And so therefore, there's an energetic component of calling in folks and doing a sacred practice. And so I have found that folks who create an altar specifically for their program and they activate and feed their altar, devote some time to their altar, be connected with the altar, which is the connection to the program itself, creates incredible magic. I can sit by my altar, work on it, and literally a couple of hours later, receive an application or a new enrollment without me having done a quote business task of putting myself out there or putting an email out there, right? Currently, I have Lush Business, a 3-month mentorship, and I have not promoted it at all, really, very quietly. And each day, there is a new application that comes in. And it's because I've been working from it through the lens of the energetic component with an altar. So my suggestion to her was, if you do work with altars, like what if you sat down or spiritual practice, let's go ahead and really feed your spiritual practice first and foremost, even for the next week, because you've got 30 days. After that, you still have 3 weeks. You've got some time. So let's go ahead and center and ground ourselves in. The last thing I invited her to do, specifically because, again, inside of Cosmically Blissful Business, I'm very much focusing on each individual person and intuitively guiding them as your business coach. And so for this particular client, what I really felt was also that there was an opportunity to see if there was a handful of people who would be able to spread her message wider than the audience she has because she's afraid she's exhausted her list. And so I told her, instead of Cosmically Blissful, you have amazing colleagues here, and some of them had podcasts, and they might have some time to add you into the schedule. And so why don't you go ahead and reach out inside of our group and ask? And in the midst of us talking about this, there was some person immediately in the comments who said, I have a podcast. I would love to talk about your work. How about we connect so that we can get this going as soon as possible? Right? That's the beauty of connection and community. We can help each other out. So she doesn't have to do it alone, and she doesn't have to only focus on her particular community. It could be expanded outward. So I invite you at that point in time to do those actions, right? The actions require for you to go inward, to honor your internal energetic space, the core hesitation or wound or tension that needs to be addressed. Honor your spiritual practice, do it even tenfold in honor of the manifestation field. Ask other people to see if they would spread the message for you and with you, and tend to the internal pressures and doubts first. I then told her, give yourself a week, then come back and ask for additional support, in which case I'll give her some strategies or some other tips to do outwardly. But I hope that gives you some suggestions and thoughts and feels around some practical steps for the now when you're in the midst of tension. And another podcast, I might talk about long-term strategies in building out to help you with your launch when you're ready to launch. But for now, if you're in the middle of something, this might be super supportive. And let me help you by providing you with some of those tools and resources by entering into Cosmically Blissful. All right, let me know if the tips are super helpful. Please place in the comment. I look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, I shall see you soon. Bye for now.